as always, I'm totally in love with all you do and the questions you raise, because they're so important, and I'm happy that you're covering them. Yes, there's a lot of psychology and culture and history that's involved, and you can see the parallels. So basically, in Israel, there is this very big appreciation of life, yes, and it's partially because of culture, socio-politics. Of course, because of the constant threat of war, consistently wars happening, but also even before that, of the way the culture and history is built, there is a huge value on life. So when here people are choosing to get a rifle or a gun or something like that, this is the huge motive of saving a life, not taking one.
And certainly, I want to highlight here that, yes, on the civilian side, gun control is a serious thing here. It's hard to acquire a firearm. There are a lot of criteria, a lot of measures to take in order to get one. So certainly hard to get a gun here. A lot of people abroad think Israel's full of guns. Not exactly the case. But looking at children, I mean, this is a young gunman in the U.S. right now in Texas, barely out of school himself. Is there early attention on mental health of children in Israel, in schools? Is that adequate? Is that a thing right now in schools here?
So another parallel, and also, of course, the mental health. Mental health, the more open we are about it, the more we have a discussion instead of hiding in the sand and pretending problems don't happen, the more we're able to avoid certain problems in the future. Yes, so yes, there's a big push, including starting already in kindergarten, different techniques of stress reduction and how you communicate with people and things like that, which really, really helps. Another thing that's also very important is that there is a big highlight kind of on bullying and making sure as much as possible that that doesn't happen. Of course, it happens, but not to the same level. And also it's being taken care of relatively very quickly. Another difference is that there is a very kind of ultimate feeling, yes, of one big family. And I'm not saying that there aren't pockets of dysfunctionality and isolation, but overall, the isolation even isn't as close as it is in U.S., which the country, as we talked about before, is very, very big. The isolation is very felt. Also, the fact that you can get guns again without, actually going through certain steps to make sure that you are mentally capable of handling one. So all these things and more, of course, are factors where it could lead to mass shootings because the value isn't there of life and the isolation is so big. On the other hand, here, the interconnectedness is so big and the value of life is so high.
I believe
the difference is already from childhood.
I believe you're touching on some critical points here that I want to highlight, absolutely. And of course, returning to gun control, yes, the ease of access to assault rifles in the U.S., it's an astounding issue that, they're incomparable around the world, certainly lending to these issues. But you touched on something great here in Israel, I think, that the importance, the impact, let's say, of national service, the social cohesion that comes out of that, the sense of community, I think that you're touching on here too. Sounds like that's very important as well. And is the Army, does the national service contributing to that, would you say?
I think that it to an extent is contributing, but it's only contributing because the sense of this interconnectedness is already before, yes, of trying to help each other out. For example, there was just a little random story, yes, of one of the immigrants that was talking that kind of touched me as well. She was saying, she was pulling a stroller up the staircase backwards, trying to pull it up, and there was some businessman just walking on the phone, and as though they're family, he just walked all the way up on the staircase, never got off the phone, and kept walking. It was such a natural thing. She was very shocked, coming from US, where that would never have happened. So just that feeling of interconnectedness and you help each other is so ingrained in the whole culture that by the time you go to the Army, also it continues, and it continues at work, it continues everywhere. There's just a feeling of someone's got your back. Even if you're fighting with them, you can fight on politics and be on totally different spectrums and then drink a beer and be okay. So that's a very, very huge difference in how you feel towards people around you. Like a thought of shooting random people just doesn't happen. It's not even because you're connected, because you're part of them. So that's very, very important. A sense of belongingness.
Absolutely. And you touch on this also. I mean, we have about a minute left, but it's a diverse country. There's a sense of community, but there are communities that within the larger Israeli fabric that clearly aren't feeling as connected as others. Do you see these things being applied enough to the intercommunal issues in Israel? I mean, this is taking it a step further, but is that a hole perhaps in what's happening here?
there are pockets, there's like a bigger community, and then there's pockets, like you're saying. Within those pockets, usually when there is a threat, they also you can see the cohesion of people bonding really quickly right away.